and Amon and everybody. Can you all hear me clear?
Loud and clear.
All right, excellent.
And
All right,
I've got the recording started, so.
okay, excellent, excellent. Let me get the teams over so I can that over there. All right. So I tried to be fancy like Kevin P and use AI, but mine didn't come out as great as yours, but that's okay. And so my name's Patrick LeBlanc. I work for Microsoft. I'm a program manager on the Azure Cat team. Um, and I've been with Microsoft almost 15 years. April, I think it'll be 15 years. And so I've been doing Power BI for a very long time. Nice to meet everyone. And so today we're going to talk about Power BI meets AI. And Martha is the other person on the YouTube with Adam and I. And Martha and I were talking about a session I could do at her conference in Oslo. She said, "Oh, you should do something on Power BI meets AI." And I was like, Power BI has met AI. It has Copilot. It's been taught using AI. And she was like, she kind of gave me a smirk. She was like, no, no, no. They have this cool new MCP server thing that you should talk about. And so over the holidays, I started, working with it, and I kind of put this session together. And both Kevins reached out to me, and I'm here today. So here's the session agenda. We're going to talk about what is an MCP. I'm going to do a visual explanation of it. We're going to talk about the Power BI MCP servers, some use cases, some limitations. I'm going to do a live demo, and then hopefully we'll have time for questions. Okay, quick poll. Who has heard of MCP before today? Who's heard of MCP? Lots of people, I'm sure, right? Yeah, lots of people. And so if this is a Power BI and Fabric users group, my guess is everybody uses Power BI. Right? That's a free question that I know. But what about AI? Who's using AI to work with their data today? Yeah, cool. Yeah, yeah. All right, cool. So some good percentages. Not as high as I thought, but yeah. And so what is a model context protocol? So MCP it stands for model context protocol. It's a standardized protocol that connects AI assistants to data tools. And so it's an open specification that was created by Anthropic, and it enables AI agents like Claude and Copilot and ChatGPT to interact with external systems using natural language, and to natural with a natural language interface to some very complex tools. But what I like about it is completely autonomous. Right? It just kind of works. And what was interesting when I was doing my research for this session, I knew Anthropic created the protocol, but I thought they were the first to create an MCP server, and I was wrong. There was a company, Razorpay, that they did the first MCP server, and they're in the payment industry. And I thought, like when I was searching, I thought it was Google, I thought it was Microsoft, I thought it was Anthropic. It actually wasn't, right? Anthropic created the protocol. And so there's three basic components to the server. There's a server itself. It's a lightweight program. It exposes specific capabilities like the Power BI MCP server. There's clients like Claude and Copilot and VS Code that can connect to it. And then the protocol just kind of sits between them. And that's how they communicate. And so why should you care about these MCP servers? And I know it's a lot of words on this, but I think it's really important because first you get this seamless AI tool integration. You can connect any AI assistant to these specialized tools without any custom integration. And so if you would have asked me, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know when, GPT and Copilot and all these large language models really got popular. But if you would have asked me that at the beginning, when they were gaining their popularity, you would ask me, "Hey Patrick, what do you think about AI?" I'm like, I'm never using this AI stuff. Right? I'm gonna keep writing DAX by hand. I'm gonna keep writing all my Python and SQL by hand. And I'm just better than AI. If you ask me that today, I'm going to be singing a different story, because it all happens through this natural language interface, right? There's no more clicking menus and doing all these things. AI just does it, and like I said, you don't have to babysit it. It's autonomous. Well, I would say babysit it, but because I don't trust it quite yet, it hallucinates a lot. But you can give it these high level of instructions, and it'll figure out what to do. And it's a standardized approach. Once you learn it, you can use it almost everywhere. So think of a MCP server like think of a MCP like having a universal translator who not only understands what you want, but it can actually help you do it. Unlike your kids who you ask them to do stuff and they don't do anything, right? They just take your money. And so here's one way that I try to explain it to people. So you and a friend are trying to decide what to eat from a massive menu. And I use AI to generate these comics. And I think it's this one of them coming up. It took me forever to make it misspell words, but once I figured out how to do it, it did it. But imagine you're out at dinner and you got this huge menu. So I don't know, a place with a very large menu like Cheesecake Factory or I don't know, Grand Lux. They have these huge menus and you're trying to decide what to order. There's hundreds of options on it. It's so confusing. You can't figure out, do I get steak with a salad? Do I get steak with asparagus? I have no idea how these things go together. It's so frustrating, you give up because the menu is so big, right? And this is before the MCP server. But when you have the MCP server, it's like having a knowledgeable waiter, right?
I want to say.
Is there a question?
Sorry,
Oh,
keep going.
Okay. We want something healthy but filling, not too spicy, under $25, and we're pretty hungry. That's like the prompt you would give the MCP server, and it would come back and say, "Hey, I'm your friend. I'm the MCP server. I can simplify these menu options for you, and then you can easily go and find what entree goes with what side, and then you're all set. And MCP, you're the best, right?" And so it simplifies the way you would interact with things. And so when I started doing my research, I thought there was one Power BI MCP server, but there's actually two. There's a modeling server and there's a remote server, and they do two separate things. One actually runs locally. That's the one we're going to talk about today, the modeling server. It's for building and modifying, doing development, doing bulk operations, creating tables, measures, defining relationships. It's for us. It's for the developers, the modelers, the engineers. It's a developer tool. Then there's the remote server, which I haven't set up yet. It's for a different purpose. It's a cloud hosted endpoint. It's for querying your models and gaining insights and asking questions. It's kind of like Copilot, in Power BI, where you can go say, "Hey, what's the insights for my data?" And it can answer business questions. It really is an end user tool. And so the Power BI MCP modeling server is a local MCP server. It brings the semantics of modeling capabilities to AI agents. It works with the Power BI desktop, the PBIX file. It works with Microsoft Fabric workspaces, and it also works with Power BI project files, better known as PBIPs. So it works with those, some key capabilities. Probably the most, to me, it was really groundbreaking the first time I saw it. Rui, who works for Microsoft, he did the demonstration. It was all natural language. And then you can do all these big, heavy bulk operations. You can make hundreds of changes to objects at once, right? You can query, you can validate DAX, you can apply modeling best practices, all of this using natural language. So before, when I was building semantic models, as much as I like to write DAX, and you can see right here, this is the misspell. And it took me a while to do it, but AI is not perfect, right? And so it was so much repetitive work. As much as I like to write DAX, I could just sit and write DAX all day long, play some music and just write DAX and write DAX. It's very tedious. And sometimes the measures can be inconsistent. The same logic across multiple measures can be very inconsistent. And then how do you keep all your data models straight and consistent? Make sure, you guys were talking about this before the session, making sure we're using proper star schemas, maybe a little snowflaking in there, just depending, right? After MCP says, "Hey, I can help build this data models with ease. I can write accurate DAX," because you can't write accurate DAX. Well, I think I can. I can keep all your measures consistent, and it just makes everything so much more easier. And so the use cases for the MCP is, the first one is bulk refactoring, right? And so if you have dim in front of all your dimensions, you have underscores because your DBAs like to put underscores or they put spaces in the names and you want to get rid of spaces. If you have hundreds of objects, hundreds of tables and columns, how do you accomplish that today, right? You do that very manually. And I think I was talking to Alex Powers. Alex does a lot of Power Queries. I can do it in Power Query. I can write some M for it. I'm like, you know what? I can write a sentence and it'll correct it all for me. I don't have to write M. I don't have to write code. The MCP server can analyze the naming conventions of a single table or multiple tables and apply it across my entire model, which gives me consistent naming in just a few seconds. I didn't stop to see if there any questions. Are there any questions? I'm just rambling, like I'm talking to myself. I feel like I'm just
No,
having a
you're
conversation.
you're doing fine. We're watching the chat, and if anything,
Okay, Kevin.
you're getting us there. You got us the introduction. We have a use case. We're waiting for you to do it live. You know, we're surprised you haven't headed over to your machine yet.
Almost. All right. Documentation. We all love to do documentation. We all love to. If you think about all the description boxes, if you go into Power BI Desktop and you see the description here, description for a column, description for the model, description for the table, how many of you have taken the time for the measure and filled out every one of those boxes for your model? If you're using Copilot, it will really help Copilot. But we don't do all these descriptions in our model. But with the MCP server, I can do comprehensive descriptions across all my tables and columns and my measures. It's really, really nice. Model translation. This is one of the first demos I saw Rui do. He actually applied, I want to say it was Portuguese. I think it was Portuguese. I don't remember. Portuguese translation to his model. Go and do manually do translations in your model. Not a very simple task. DAX optimizations. Another one. Calculation logic is everywhere. I can say, hey, let's do some user-defined functions. Extract that logic out. Create my UDF and apply it to all my measures. I could do that. It's cleaner and more maintainable DAX. Best practices. There's model needs like relationships, hierarchies, security. Just creating relationships is a pain for me, right? All the dragging and dropping, a match and the keys. It's a nightmare. It's a lot of work. But with the MCP server, it can then analyze this and do this for you. Finally, right, the power of autonomy. It plans and executes these complex multi-step tasks. In the demo that I'm going to show you, what I did was I created a master prompt. I sat like over the holidays, and I was like, what if I just had one big prompt that I can run against my model and then go have some lunch and come back and my model's ready to go. It's not that great, but I'll show you what I did. All right. And so the MCP setup, you need three things. You need Visual Studio Code, which is free. You can use other clients like Claude. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. GitHub Copilot with the chat extension and the Power BI modeling MCP VS Code extension. Installation is easy. It's all done through VS Code. But before we get into the demo, there's always warnings, right? Limitations and considerations. These AI models, they're not magic, right? Review everything that it generates, create backups before you start. I cannot tell you how many times I went through my demo and I had to restart and rebuild everything because I didn't have a backup of it because I messed up. Use source control if you can. With the project files, it works really well with source control. They can hallucinate. They can produce unexpected results, and they may generate incorrect DAX. So be careful. And the quality depends on which model you use. I recommend GPT 5.1 or Claude Sonnet 4.5, but they can be expensive. They are newer models and smarter, but they can be somewhat expensive, but often more accurate. All right, security is critical. Yes.
I have a question for you,
Yeah.
Belinda.
Hey,
So
Belinda.
I'm hearing more about Claude for coding and vibe coding over ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I just was curious what you're thinking about in terms of DAX. Have you noticed anything?
Yes, Claude is better. Claude Sonnet is better. I had I don't know if you heard of we had to do a harmonic average. It's a financial thing. And man, the scope that we had, there were so many scopes that we had to check for in this. And so I was 95% correct. I tried it in Chat GPT. It was lost. It wanted to rewrite the entire DAX. Claude looked at my DAX and I was missing one scope and it pinpointed it for me. It was remarkable what it did.
To take that conversation down a little bit further, because
Yeah.
I interpreted Belinda's question a little bit different.
Oh, okay.
Like the idea of Visual Studio Code versus Claude Code,
Oh, wait,
right?
Claude.
Or like
Okay.
where I think you're answering the question, which was also in the chat, right? And like you're talking about the models here of GPT 5.1 or Claude Sonnet, you could choose those in GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio Code. You could choose which model you want to use or let it be auto. But so Belinda, I wasn't sure which way you were trying to ask your
I was
question.
asking between ChatGPT and Claude
Yeah.
what Kevin
Yeah, not the
answered,
Okay.
client.
or
Yeah,
what
not the
Patrick
client.
answered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was
Yeah.
because I see a
But
lot of like the actual tool itself. Do you like using Claude Code or do you like using Visual Studio Code? So, okay.
that's a fascinating question too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I haven't set up Claude desktop on my machine, but it's on the list. I'm hoping to have it done before I go to Oslo.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Well, reach out to me. I've done it.
Yep.
I got opinions.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Security is critical. The LLMs might expose sensitive data. If your model has customer names or any sensitive data, they may show up. They probably will show up in your AI responses. I put this second bullet in here because I was on LinkedIn and somebody posted a message about how great something they were doing, and some AI client responded, and it had social security numbers in it. And they took it down because the very first comment was like, hey, you may want to take this down. But they posted it on LinkedIn. Be careful. A lot of times data exfiltration is by accident. Most of the times it's by accident. And also remember, AI sees whatever you give it access to. If you connect to production with admin rights, that's on you. Good luck, right? But let's be clear what this model in MCP server does, right? It handles semantic models, tables, columns, measures, relationships, stacks, code, hierarchy, security, anything in the model view, right? It doesn't handle creating your reports. It's not going to build out your reports, make beautiful layouts. The model view won't magically reorganize. You have to do things, right? Think of it as a modeling assistant, not a full Power BI replacement. I've gotten that question a lot, ever since I started having conversations about this MCP server. Like, oh, so nobody needs me anymore, right? And this thing is replacing me. It is not replacing me. At least I haven't got to the level of writing prompts that fully replace me. So there's some safety features built in. Before it makes its first modification, it's going to ask you, and you'll see all this in the demo. But I wanted to put all this in slides so you'll have this later. It's the same thing before it runs the first query. It's going to ask you. You can skip all these by enabling it if you want to. I don't recommend it in production. These prompts are here to protect you from yourself. A lot of times from yourself. And so just a cheat sheet that I put together, some do's and don'ts. Work in development first. Never experiment in production. I know none of us develop in production. None of us do that, right? We've never done that before. Use version control if you can. Test thoroughly, right? And always keep backups. Don't skip the confirmations when you're working in production. You just never know what's going to happen. Be careful. Like I just can't reiterate this. I couldn't believe when I saw this person sharing the sensitive data. I can't reiterate that enough. Don't deploy without testing, and don't trust blindly. You're still the expert. It's your assistant, not your replacement. All right. So enough of all these questions. You know what I like to do? Let's head over to my laptop. All right.
All right. So as you're getting that set up, there's kind of two things that came up in the chat.
Okay.
And you mentioned, and Kevin P answered this as well, but you mentioned that this MCP server can connect to a workspace.
Mhm.
And this person was asking about the multi-factor authentication. And I've run into this problem as well. And I even tagged on to the problem logged out on GitHub. But if you try to connect to a workspace, you end up getting an error like redirect URL missing or something to that effect. So you're doing it just out of desktop today,
Well,
right?
I'm not
Did you
doing, I'm
get,
not,
did you,
I did. Rui helped me get it working. I'm trying to remember what we did. Let me think. I'm not showing it today because we
it,
did have to, we had to walk through, we had to jump through a few hoops to get it working.
or if Rui could address the topic, the
Okay.
issue that's
All right.
logged up on GitHub, because there's about 20
I'll ask him about
people
it. I'll ask him
logged
about
to
it.
it. And
Okay.
then somebody else asked, so the data that is sent to the LLM is only the part of the model, essentially the part of the Tyndall files. Is that correct? It doesn't try to read and send data from the model.
So the prompts right? If you go read, so I was reading through the security. There's a security. If you go out, to it, the prompts that you send and what's in the chat could potentially, they don't say specifically that they use that data, but the prompts, right? They could use the prompts that you send. And so you should be careful of what you put in your prompts, right? Don't put social security numbers. If I'm saying, show me customer 456 social security, I wouldn't put that in any prompt that I write. Now, what it returns, no, they don't support. Nah, look, man, they say they don't store it. That's what I tell you, right? So these large language models, this AI, I don't know. Microsoft runs on trust. Right? I work for Microsoft. We don't store any of it.
and yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. Even when people say they don't store, assuming it's being stored somehow.
Yeah,
There's
right.
potentially somebody put a logging feature in somewhere that put something you didn't want, but always be careful.
Do it in development. Do it in development against your development data. Don't use any of your sensitive data. That's why this slide, right? And like I've reviewed these slides with a couple of people, and they're like, you just keep saying the same thing over a few times. I'm like, I do.
It's
because
important.
it is so important. Like the all these last few slides, I put these in. It's like you can make this one slide. I'm like, I can't make this one slide because every single one of these are very important. And you need to understand this is AI. There's somebody building this stuff, and there's a possibility they're going to make a mistake, and you'll do it unintentionally. You won't even realize what you're doing, like the person on LinkedIn did. So just be careful.
Just two more questions, and then I think we're ready for your demo. And maybe I'm gonna, as people put more in, I might skip a couple. But how does Power BI MCP Server work with Power BI Copilot? And I think what they mean is like Copilot up on the service versus what you're going to show a Copilot in Visual Studio Code.
It doesn't. I tried it. And so
Yeah.
somebody posted that on Martha's videos. Like, why doesn't it just work in Power BI Copilot or the standalone Copilot in Fabric? It just doesn't work. I don't know why it doesn't. Because it's local. It's not a hosted endpoint like the one that's like the remote one. The remote one behaves very similar to Copilot. And so when you start asking questions about the data, it does something very, very similar to what Copilot does. Copilot does not change anything about your model.
And it's probably boxed off that way on purpose up on the service right now. And who knows, as these things come about, maybe that'll, get further. And then the last one is, do we need any other access to create this in an enterprise setting? And you're going to show from the desktop first, which is really just local stuff. So
I'm not showing anything in the service. Let me show. Let's go through.
Yeah, let's go through that, and then maybe we'll come back to that if we need to. PS if it doesn't cover it.
Yep. So I have two models here. I have one that is a project file, and I have one that's a project file, which is this one, and I have one that's just PBIX, right? So one is PBI. Is it P? I think it's PBIP, and the other one's PBIX. And so, what I found is when using the PBIX, you can keep it open when you're having a conversation with Copilot and making changes. When you are using the PBIP, it's best to keep it closed. Because there's things happening that file structures that if you have it open, it can't commit it while it's open. So I just keep it closed. So just be careful. That's what I've seen. If somebody found something better, let me know. All right. And so other things that I do that I found that it struggles with is if you go to options and settings and you want to disable where is it? Data load. You want to disable auto date time. It struggles with that, trying to disable it. And if you have it on, it sees those as actual relationships. So I don't use auto date time. I turn it off because I always have a date table. And then another thing that I found in my testing that it struggles with is implicit measures. Right. And so I'll turn those off. I'm not going to turn them off quite yet on this one, but I will eventually turn it off. And so we'll go here, and on this one, it's already off. But notice how this is at the compatibility level 1600, right? And so user-defined functions are supported in compatibility level 1702. And to change a compatibility level, you typically would open up Tabular Editor or SSMS and run an XMLA script or something like that to update the compatibility mode. You know what I did? This was actually yesterday. I was like, there's got to be a way to change this in the desktop. So I found the feature that I wanted to do. I said new function. And if you go back over to my semantic model now, you'll notice that the compatibility level is changed to 1702. I didn't actually create the function. I just tried to create it. And it said, oh, that function is only supported in 1702. So it changed it. And I had to do this when I was using GitHub, when I was using Copilot, and it wanted to add user-defined functions. It said, hey, I can't add these functions because you're in the wrong compatibility. And so I did this on my model because I wanted to add user-defined functions. Okay. All right. There we go. We'll close that off. Save that. We'll close that one. Keep that one closed. And let me see what compatibility. We're already at 1702 on this one. So watch this. This is how I started my journey into the GitHub Copilot. And so the next thing you want to do is open up Visual Studio Code. And of course, it's going to not behave the way I want it to behave because it's demo time. That one's working. This one's not. That's okay. It's lightweight. It opens fast. So we're going to open this one up. And so you need to get GitHub Copilot installed with the chat agent. So you can see mine's here. And like we were talking about, there's lots of different models out here. Because I work for Microsoft, because I'm not going to pay for this, I'm too cheap, I have access to lots and lots of models. I don't know what the free, I know GPT-5 Mini is free. I think all of these are free right here. I don't know if any of these are free. I'd have to sign out to see which ones are free. But because I work for Microsoft, I get a ton of these, and you want to be in agent mode. And then if you go to extensions and search for Power BI Modeling MCP, and then just click install, and that's it. You're ready to go. Right. And so you can see there's lots and lots and lots of documentation here. There's links out to other things. It's really great. One of my favorite parts about this little doc that they put right here, they actually tell you how to connect. Connect to the semantic model, file name, connect to semantic model in the workspace, connect to semantic PBIP, right? And it's great. And so I want to show you something. First, I'm going to choose this. I'm just going to copy this. And hang on, let me see, control. There we go. Let's make this a little larger. And so I'm going to paste this in. And the name of my file is DFWUG. See that? So let's get connected. I've done this a million times. I hope it works this time. All right. So the very first time, remember in my slide deck, it said the very first time it's going to prompt you. And so I can just click allow. And every time I try to do something, it's going to prompt me. What I like to do is say for this particular session, because I'm not in the workspace, and I'll talk about a workspace when I talk about the project file. But for this particular chat session, I wanted to approve all the Power BI modeling capabilities. Okay. And if you scroll down to the bottom, I think it's in this document. Maybe it's in a different document. In the main document for this product on the Git repo, they list all the operations that can be performed. But for now, I'm just going to say allow tos in this session, right? And so it'll get connected. It's doing a connection operation. All right, so it does this. I noticed that it does this. Then it'll go find the port, and then it connects, right? But I didn't have to do anything. It figured it out on its own, right? I didn't have to babysit it. It found out, hey, this is what I need to do. Now, if we go out here and do this, I'm going to show you when I was working with this, I was like, this is interesting. So I grabbed color. So you'll see color in my report. And then I'm going to choose sales amount. It's an implicit measure right now. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to make this a table. Okay. And what do we see? And we all know this. We know Power BI. We use Power BI. We know what the problem with this is. But if I wasn't as savvy as I am, if we all weren't as savvy with Power BI as we are, what would we think the problem is, right? And so what I'm going to do is do a quick snip of this. Okay. Like that. And I'm going to go over to my GitHub Copilot. I'm going to paste this in and say, hey, take a look at this image. What is wrong with my model? I just gave it an image. It's looking at the image. It found, hey, look, it's repeating everything. Let me check, right? Exact same thing. It's looking at, it's going to do relationship operations. We know what's wrong, right? It's missing relationships. But I just gave it a picture. Just gave it a picture and said, hey, look at this picture and figure out what's wrong. It figured out, oh, I need a relationship between this. And now, okay, so I'm going to say, yeah, I want to do this. Let's do this operation and give it a second. It'll come up here. Fix, it's created it. If we go over to Power BI, we need to refresh. And once we refresh, because we have to do a calculate. When anytime you add a relationship to your model, there's a model operation. It's called calculate. You have to do a calculate. And now I didn't do anything, right? I just gave it a picture and said, hey, what's wrong with my model? It figured it out on its own. And if we go here now, you can see the relationship. Any questions? That's pretty impressive to me. I was excited about that.
I love the fact of just snipping a picture. I didn't think about doing that and pasting the picture in there.
It's very cool. It's very cool. It's very cool. I'm a nerd. So anyway, okay. So now that's a PBIX file. And we're going to come back to our PBIX file and talk about it a little more. But if you want to use version control, I suggest you use the project file, because the project file contains, it's broken down and it's easily formatted. It's not a binary file. You can check it in, check it out, and do things like that. But what I did for this one was, and I'll make sure.
Hey, before we start this one,
yeah,
I'm going to go with Isaac because that's the easiest part of this person's name to has a question. So go ahead and ask your question.
Hi guys, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So what you were saying on the connection between the MCP and the Power BI desktop, what can be a reason that that connection is taking too long to get established?
What could be the reason that between the Power BI desktop and you can't get it connected? Is that it's taken too long?
Yes.
So
yeah, go ahead.
One of the things I ran into, that's why I'm not using my other machine, which I typically demo from. It depends on, I ran a trace against it. And so using SQL Server Profiler, and it was trying to authenticate as an account that did not have access. And I don't know why it was using like some strange domain and username. And I ran as administrator. And then it connected. I ran Visual Studio Code as administrator and it connected. So one thing is, how are you connecting here and what account is this associated to? And so you could take a look at that. And so I just ran Visual Studio Code. I right clicked and right clicked again. I think I opened it I ran as administrator and it connected. So there were some funky things with my VS Code on that machine that prevented me from working. But on my Microsoft machine, on this machine, where I'm signed in, I think I have 3 different sign-ins on the other one, 3 different Git accounts. And so it got lost along the way. Mm-hmm. So it could be something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Is there more? Are there more, Kevin?
No, you're good.
Okay. And so
you still use SQL trace?
I do. For analysis services. I do. For analysis services. I mean, what other options do I have besides DAX Studio, right?
No, all good. I use it too, but I get that question a lot.
Yeah. If you talk to the SQL people, they're like, you're going to use extended events. I say, make some for analysis services. Right? Anyway, so what I did with this one, this is a little different. And so when I first started building out the demo, I just opened the Word document and I started typing the prompts. I said, okay, first I want to do this, then I want to do this, then I want to do that, then I want to do this. And it was about 90% of those prompts worked in my model until I got to the user-defined functions. And then I said, what if I can create one big prompt and have it stop along the way for me to check things and make sure it's going on. So I took just mine poorly grammatically incorrect, misspelled words. And I went to Copilot, and just regular Copilot here. And I said, hey, help me write a master prompt to build out my semantic model, and it used a lot of specific things here in it to build out my model. And towards the middle of it, give me a stop and let me see some DAX to make sure you're doing it correct. And so you can see right here, so I can approve it. Okay. And if I like it, I'll say approve. Otherwise, I'll say edit. And you can see right here, it actually put that into my master prompt. Took me a couple of iterations. I was arguing with Copilot to get it the way I want it. And then, so I'm going to use this prompt. I'm going to get it running. I'm going to use this prompt for this particular Copilot, and we'll come back and check on it. And then the other ones, what I did was, and you'll get access to these prompts. What I did was I also used Copilot, but I took my prompts and I said, hey, I want you to make these generic because I want this to run against any model. I don't want this to be specific to AdventureWorks. I want to possibly put this against Contoso or Sales and Finance or whatever data warehouse or semantic, or model I'm working with, and start, iterating through it and giving me some suggestions. And so we'll have both of those, and it breaks somewhere in the middle because I think there's a conflict with my MCP server, but I'm still working on it. So, but we'll keep going. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to copy where you at? Go away. I hate when that happens. There we go. I'm going to copy. This is I like this one, right? I'm going to go over here, and you can be generic about it. So I'm going to say, go right here and say, open my semantic model. Let's increase this a little bit. There we go. Open my semantic model from a pbit folder. And so this is it right here. I'm going to copy this path. And I'm going to put it right in here, right? So I'm going to say, open this, and let's see if we can get connected to this. And you could be really vague. I'm going to be honest with you. It's just, I'm in a demo and I don't want it to mess up too much. And so I'm being really specific, but I've entered some really, really basic things, and it works, right? Again, it's going to prompt me because you can do this holistically and say, anytime I'm using VS Code and I'm doing some vibe coding or whatever it is, just auto approve. I don't do that. I just don't trust it that much yet. So I'm going to approve it for this session. I'm going to approve it for this workspace because I'm actually in a workspace now. And so I'm going to do here. So it's going to run my connection operation.
And just to be clear, the workspace term here is really the Visual Studio Code workspace, meaning like a file location that was open. You're not talking workspace up in the service.
Good point. So like what you would do when you open VS Code, you just go file, open folder, and then point to a folder, or do a new folder and point to that folder. That's your workspace. Thanks, Kevin. All right. So now I'm connected. I'm completely connected. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy the path of this, and I'm going to say, run this prompt against the model. And I misspell words. I said, run this prompt. I put it at the end. Let's see if it picks it up. So now what it's doing is actually reading the entire prompt. And it's like, it's no way. So it read the entire prompt, and now it's going to start executing these step by step for me, very systematically. And I was blown away. And there's some mistakes in here, and I injected some things so it'll break and stop. But like it did it. So it's creating its own to-do list, and now it's going to start. So it's saying, hey, look, I found some stuff. You want me to do this? I'm going to do some table operations. Good news, the tables exist, and it has the correct key columns, but no relationships exist. And if you just give it a few seconds and we would open it up, you would see that those relationships are created. But don't open your project file until it's done. And what's interesting about the project files is you have to give it somewhere in your prompt, in your master prompt at the beginning, and you got to tell it, hey, commit these changes, because it's going to write them down to the Timdo. So you got to tell it to do a commit for you. All right. So we'll let this run. We'll let this run over in the background. It'll stop at some point, and it'll ask some more questions. And so I'm going to go over to my Word document. So we got that running. I'm keeping an eye on it, even though in my slides I said you don't have to keep an eye on it. But in my first task, what I want to do is I want to find the fact tables and the dimension tables. And so I created this very generic prompt. And so if I pop this in to Copilot, and it's gonna look at my model. It's actually gonna run some queries against my model to determine, what's the granularity of this table? What's the cardinality of these columns? Is it a fact? Is it a dimension? And so you'll see here in just a second, because it's saying, hey, I'm going to run a query. I'm about to run some DAX queries. It found a fact table that had 30 columns with some integers. It ran a query like the one I had before. And so it's like, all right, this is the information you have. And then I wrote another prompt and I said, okay, this is great. But you remember in the other one, I wanted it to create kind of like that hierarchy table relationship. So I generalized this prompt also. And now what you'll see is, and we're going to be able to see this in Power BI Desktop, it's like, okay, let me expect the model. And then what it's going to do, it does these column operations because it's running these operations to take a look. And this is what the MCP server, remember back in the deck, I said the MCP server can run a certain group of operations. These are the operations that's available for that MCP server. And so you can see now, I say, okay, I've identified 3-level hierarchy, and now it's running a relationship operation on the model for me. But what I like the most is that it gives me a summary of what it actually does. Right? And if I go over to Power BI, it says refresh. I do my refresh, and you can see all my relationships are starting to come together. Right? The other one's just chugging away over there. Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had
Go
one.
ahead, Belinda.
Okay.
Did it find the dimension and fact tables because you named them dim and fact beforehand, or did it just understand that?
So I changed those table names. It's a good question. So a question is like, did it know? Because you told it, Patrick. You cheated, right? You told it fact, you told it dim. I removed those and reran that generic prompt, and it still found them. Because if you look at what it did at the top, let me find the prompt. And so if you look at what it did at the top, have a look at my model. Look here, I can see. Fact internet sales. And so, so identify a primary fact-like table, largest row count, transactional grain, numeric-like columns. I gave it information that describes a fact table. I gave it information that describes a dimension table. Does that make sense? And so it had the information that it needed to go out and look for those fact tables. So when I didn't prefix it with fact, you know what? When I go to Oslo, I'm going to have those names taken off. Thank you so much, Belinda. And so I removed them when I was doing my testing, and I just had to rebuild them all and add them back, and I forgot to add it. It didn't need the name of those tables. It still found them. Yeah,
Right.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, this is really amazing. So can you connect to a different AI after it does its work and ask the other one to check the work of the first one? Like, can you instead of trusting, it's like, yeah, I trust you, but let me go over here and verify.
So in this right here in GitHub Copilot, and so I will tell you, I have been doing I played this, me and my fiance played this game called Phase 10. And it's a card game. I don't know if any of you play a card game, and the Phase 10. And so in Phase 10, you have to, and I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. In Phase 10, you take score on a piece of paper like Gin Rummy or something like that. And both of us, we're not lazy, we're just really efficient. And we didn't want to take score. We wanted to have an app that did it. I opened up GitHub Copilot and I said, hey, do you know anything about Phase 10? It said, yes. I said, give me the rules. It wrote out all the rules. I read through most of the rules. I said, can you create an app using all the color schemes and for this? And it created the app. And I went through several iterations. We're testing it right now. So right here, the point right here, these language models are available. So I can say, hey, go go and do this. If there's other MCP servers out here that, validate DAX for performance, and I think there are some other MCP servers with Power BI, you can leverage those directly here. You don't have to leave. You can have it look at your DAX because they'll work together. So one of them will get the DAX, the other one will look at the DAX to optimize the DAX. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. That's all I can say.
And I would add on to that, some of it gets into knowing your tool. And just like those big instructions that Patrick showed, you could actually tell some of these tools. I've seen it in Cloud Code more than here, but I've seen demos of it on Visual Studio Code, that yes, you can tell it to run other agents in the background that are watching for things and then doing the code review. I haven't figured out the right prompts for doing all that, but are the tools capable of it? Yes. Is my brain capable of it yet? Probably not.
That's the thing, right? That's the thing, though. That's the thing. I'm still working on. I'm learning how to write prompts, and like my daughter's taking she's in college right now. She's taking this AI course, and I was telling her about what I did. She goes, "Dad, you need to do this with your prompt. You need to do this. You need to add this at the top." So she's learning how to, do the prompting. I gotta get better at it. I just gotta get better at it.
Yeah, it just takes time, right? Just gotta 100 hours or 1,000 hours, 10,000 or whatever that number of hours is.
Yep.
Don, you got a question, and then I think we'll go to one in the chat.
Yeah. Actually, my question is, since you're accessing the semantic model on your local computer from the VS Code, so you don't need to do any authentication on the VS Code, right? To access your locally. That way, basically, you're, so you're allowing another different application to access whatever maybe sensitive information in your semantic model in this case.
Yeah. So that's why in this slide.
Yeah.
That's why I keep referring back to these slides. In this slide right here, right? If you connect it to production with admin rights, that's on you. So you have to be really careful. You got to be really, 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 really careful.
Can you do similar thing in Power BI Desktop instead of having another application like VS Code to do what you're showing here?
So in Power BI Desktop, there is Copilot, but it's very limited at what it can do. So it's kind of like the remote server. It can answer questions. It can create reports. It can create reports. It can write DAX. It can do things like that, but it can't modify your model.
So can you connect MCP to that Copilot on your Power BI and then no? Okay.
No,
not
good question though. It's a great question. Great question. Good question. Why not? Right? Why not make an external tool that connects to the MCP server, and then I can do it right here in Power BI Desktop? Why not? Right? I bet you I can vibe code it. I bet you I can. But anyway, okay. Good question.
So there's a question in the chat.
Yep.
I have a PBIX file which has messy table relationships. I'm very embarrassed to ask my friends to take a look and point out the issues for me. So the ugly baby syndrome, right?
Yeah.
Then can I ask MCP to evaluate my table relationships, and MCP can advise me how to fix my existing messy tables?
The short answer, yes, you absolutely can. Now, what is it going to do? What is it going to produce? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I don't know how messy your model is. But the first thing I would say, backing up, ask your friends. Who cares what they think, right? That's what they're there for. They'll help.
Have a good friend that's willing to look at your ugly baby and go, ooh, at first, and then move on.
Yeah, they'll be like, oh, it's awful, but let me help you fix it. Let me help you. If they're a real friend, that's what they're going to do. Right?
Okay, and then one other person has their hand up, and I can't see your full name. PG? Oh,
hello, my name is Praveen.
Hey, Praveen.
Hey, so the Copilot that we have on a Power BI, let's say a report, or even in the Power BI desktop, it actually works on the underlying data and on those aspects. But what we are seeing here is specifically for the development. Is that right? So is it fair to assume that this MCP server, this MCP that you're talking about here it facilitates development, and the other one on the data itself.
So the modeling MCP server, the one we're talking about right now, is for development. You're absolutely correct. Now, the other one, this one right here, the Copilot here in Power BI Desktop, I mean, I can't say it's limited to just that, because if we go here, you can ask it to create DAX for you. It can write DAX for you. So you can do, it's kind of a hybrid one. It can analyze your data, create some reports, do some visuals, chat with your data. But right here in the DAX view, it can create measures. And I will say it's gotten better. It's creating some really good measures. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, while we're on questions, we'll continue to see go through what I'm seeing in the chat.
Yep.
This is an interesting one. I'll be interested how you answer this one. I know an answer. Is there an MCP available for SQL Server?
I don't know the answer to that, but all we need to do is
while you're looking, I haven't seen one in like the extensions, but what I learned is GitHub Copilot. If you install the MS SQL extension and you tell it what your connection name is when you set up, it could connect and write SQL and execute it against the database. And that includes things like warehouses, like SQL Analytics endpoints. And it's just because these tools, these agents are not just limited to MCPs. They could do CLIs, command line interfaces, right? And that's kind of what the MS SQL extension becomes like a CLI. And so if you're going to do something in Visual Studio Code that Patrick's showing, I learned that the other day. I had it help me debug some data that I was like, why doesn't this match? And it did a good job at writing a lot of the SQL and helping me through a lot of it.
So I don't know this one. I just searched, right? But this is a minimal database MCP server for all these things. I can't imagine that it does a whole bunch of stuff, but it can execute SQL, search objects, and do custom tools. So I'm sure there'll be one. I'm sure somebody at Microsoft is working on one, or somebody in the community is working on an MCP server. I'm sure they are.
I'm sure there is too.
And there is an Azure MCP server out there for what it's worth.
There is an Azure one. There is an
Azure one. I know there's an Azure one.
Yeah. Yeah. There is an Azure one. There's an Azure DevOps one.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, there's an Azure. All you gotta do is search. I mean, there's some stuff out there. Okay.
And there's some other ones you can manually install. And then last question, I'll let you get back at it. Can it help remove unused measures?
I would say no.
Somebody else put the answer I would have put in there. So
I would say no, because it can't look at your reports. Yeah. I wouldn't have it do it, right? Use the measure killer. I forgot the guy's name. Use the measure killer.
Yeah, Gregor.
Gregor Bruno.
Yeah, and somebody put the link in the chat, so definitely look at what Aurora put in the chat. Measure killer is a really good solution for this.
Yeah,
so
it's great. It's really good.
All right, there's a few more things, but let me let you get back to.
All right, I don't have much.
It's been running for a while.
All right, stop. And this is where I want to. This is the point. This is where I want to get to, and then because I want to show something, and then all the rest of it is just prompts that I'm giving you access to. I will send you all a link to the URL with the master prompt, the other prompts, the starting point for both of the project file and the PBIX. They're import. It's just at VentureWorks. They're import models. So as long as you don't try to refresh, it should just work. You should be able to run all this against it.
And we'll include that as a link once we publish the video.
Okay. And so you can see right here, like it's doing all this stuff. This is the project file where I gave the master prompt. And so it just was going through, adding relationships, doing all these things for me. And I was so excited. And this actually happened while I was working on this. But I had the whole master prompt. I didn't have the part here where I was telling it, hey, stop, so I can approve this. And so it got to this point And when I was working on this, I had just did a video on use-defined functions, and I was like, ooh, this will be good. Let me see if it'll do use-defined functions in my model. And you can see it created lots of relationships for me. It just did a ton of stuff for me. And so, but then it created a lot of measures for me, put them in folders. And so, but then it got down to the use-defined function. And if you've written the use-defined function before or have any knowledge of them, you'll know, you look at this immediately and go, this syntax is not correct. There needs to be colons here. There needs to be an equal sign here. There needs to be a declaration here. It's just wrong, right? And no matter how many times I tell it, and this is the point that I want to make about AI, right? It's not perfect. It's not magic. You're the expert. It's your assistant. And no matter how many times I tell it, it's not right. It does it like this almost every time. I'm like, that's not what I want. And so I'm going to say edit because that's what I told it, to let it know that I want to make a change and give it a suggestion about this. And you can put all these types of things in your prompt. So to try to protect it from just going, doing everything. And it's like, hey, what do you want to do? I want to fix the function. I want to fix the function. You are wrong. I'm going to yell at it. Right? Here is the correct syntax. It knows I'm yelling at it, right? It knows I'm yelling. So, oh, that's not right. I made it because I don't want you to watch me write it. Where did it go? Here we go. Simplified UDF. And so let's copy this. And watch what happens. Watch what happens. I hope it happens the exact same way that it did when I was testing the demo out. This is why you got to verify and validate, especially your DAX. And you can open it up. When you open the model up, you'll get warning signs and everything. And so watch this. If you read what it said, it goes by so fast. It's like, nah, I'm right. You're wrong. Right. And even after that, look what it did. It did the exact same thing. It put the colons, but it left the relationship. I'm like, no, don't do that, right? Don't do that. Let me fix yours. And so if I copy their code, this code, and fix this code, it will accept it. If I paste my code in, it just will not accept it and move on. And so let's see. So I'm going to go, okay, try this out. You are still incorrect. And so like we go here, this needs to be any ref, right? Because I'm referring to a measure and a column. And then here, I have no idea what it's doing right here because I don't want to add all that up. I just need one. And then this right here needs to be this date. I think I got it right. We'll see in a little bit. It seems like they raised me to the column. All right. I think it believed me. I think it believed me that time. No matter how many times I pasted mine in, it kept telling me I was wrong. But when I copied the one that it did, it was like, oh, look, I'm right. This is how it goes. And so I was like, yep, go ahead and do it. Yep, go ahead, approve. And it's just going to keep moving now. It's going to keep moving, going through my master prompt. Hopefully, we'll get to a point where it finishes and I can open it up. So we'll let it go over there, and then we'll go back to the other VS Code. Oh, where are you? I don't know how this is going to work when I'm live in front of people. All right. And so all I would do now is continue, walking through the prompts. I finished in perfect time. I want to show you one more prompt over here that I wrote. Let me see. Can I find it? Yeah, this is the one. So we're going to run two more, and then I'm going to show you something. So it can also give you information about your model. And so I was like, hey, I want to see what these relationships look like. Give me an ERD type of diagram directly here in the chat. And so I issued that. And then what it's going to do is it's actually going to show me what my relationships look like, because I don't want to open up this project file quite yet until I get everything I want, because I got to make sure I close it because it's broken a couple of times on me. But you can see here, right, it's telling me what my relationships are and what is created in JSON. It's spitting it out in this kind of model structure where it's saying, here's fact, one to many to product, product subcategory, on and on and on and on. It does a good job to show me what it created. And then I can go back and say, and this will be the last one I run because it's it's just tedious at this point to keep issuing these prompts. But this was a generic one that I wrote that said, hey, I need you to go look. And I think this may be a good one for the person who asks about the relationships. Scan the model for entire missing relationships, invalid relationship, orphan keys, ambiguous filter, many to many. Propose additions to my model, for filter direction, brief rationale. Don't change anything, but just let me recommend some stuff for me. And look at that. It came back and it gave me an audit and it made suggestions of what I needed to do. And so the person who asks about the messy model, I'll make sure you get a copy of this Word document. But look, it went through and it made all these recommendations for me. Here's some critical things that you need to do right now, Patrick. Here's some potential issues that we found in your model. Here's the existing relationship. Here's the missing ones. It did a good job visualizing this directly in the chat. There's no ambiguous paths detected. Here's the priority. And I can say, okay, do all the high priority items for me. Right, I can give it that, but I think I actually created another prompt. I wrote another one that would do this for me. And so we'll go here and we'll run that. And this one's just saying, implement what you think, right? Implement it, give it to me. And so it's going to go through and it's going to implement all the things I need. And it does a really good job. Right? And so it's I don't know how many prompts I have in here. I think I have about 17 different prompts in here, and you can have them and take a look at them and give me feedback. Tell me, this one sucks, Patrick. You could do it better this way. I like it. I like the feedback. Just be constructive. Don't be mean. And so now
always good advice, Patrick.
Right? Be constructive. So now it's deactivated the old logo. Oh, whoa, I forgot to turn it off. Oh, it did do it this time. All right, excellent. And so you can't deactivate them. So now it's creating all my relationships for me. If I go over to my model, it says you need to refresh. I go here, and now my not so friendly star schema, right, is created. Yep. All right. So to wrap up, I want to show you this last thing over here. And so I'll give you all this stuff. You can walk through it. But the one that once I approved it and told it to go, it created a calculation group for me. It did some final validation checks for me. It did all the things that I wanted it to do. The one thing that I forgot to add to my master prompt was what? Descriptions. So can you add descriptions to all my tables, columns, measures, and the model itself? Once you are done, create a data dictionary .markdown file that I can use later. And you type that in, and then I would probably go have a coffee because it's going to take a few minutes to do all this. And it's going to go through and add descriptions in my tables, on my measures, on my columns. It's going to actually create a markdown file that's a data dictionary for my model that I can share with you all. So if I leave, because all the information is stuck in my brain, and so when I leave, somebody can actually have knowledge of what I did in this semantic model. And so I don't know how long this is going to take, but it'll do it. It'll run through it. And so maybe if we have some questions, by the time we're done answering questions, we can take a look and see what it did.
Yeah. So Jack has a really good question.
All right.
It says,
yep.
Patrick, you're a seasoned Power BI developer.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, how much time has the work that you've shown saved you? Right. And maybe this last couple prompts really iterates that. But, what do you think it would save you in producing a model, reviewing models type of thing?
Half my time, right? Half. It will cut my development time. That's what I'm estimating. So I do a little consulting on the side. And one of the projects I'm working on, I talked to the client before I even took them on. I was like, look, I want to use this when we're developing your model. And so I estimated, he and I have talked about it and how much he saved by me using Copilot. And so it's about, I've cut my development time in half because all the tedious things like relationships, renaming columns, documenting columns, doing all those types of things, the things that I'm okay with it doing, that I trust it doing, right? I just tell it to go do all those things for me. Now, when it comes to writing DAX, I'm still not 100% confident that I can just release it and let it go write the DAX for me. And so I'm still writing DAX. I'm not if it's the CRUD DAX, like the sums and the counts and things like that, I'll have it do all those for me. But the more complicated DAX statements, I'm still writing those by scratch. So I'd say I'm saving 50% of my work time. I can't give you it depends on the project. I hate to say it depends. I put it in the jar. Right?
Hang on, let me find my tick sheet.
But it depends on the project. It just depends on the project.
Great. Praveen, I think, or was it, I got to expand the name again. Do you have your hand up?
Yeah, that's right. I just typed my question. So basically,
Cool.
The hallucinations and kind of,
I'm sorry, you cut out for about 30 seconds.
With, the syntax. And so when you have those kind of scenarios, I just wanted to, get your feedback on, what does it help if you add some kind of a validation right into the prompt, or let's say, have another prompt running in a separate session, like something like a reviewer or a tester, that takes this output and then independently reviews it, makes corrections, in the specific areas.
Sorry, you broke up on the most critical part of the question.
I think I got the gist of the question, but I think it was kind of back to a similar question that I've been asked, right? Is, would you take the results of what this changed and say, send it to another agent that would be kind of like a QA agent or something to test it and verify it? Is that the gist of your question?
Yeah, so basically there are two approaches, right? So one is you add the validation steps right into your prompt. That is the easiest way, but it is also constrained because the size of the prompt and the complexity that it handles. When that doesn't work, typically we move it to a different agent. The advantage there is that it gets a different session and it's looking at it independently. But the disadvantage is that it might not have the actual context.
Well, the thing about this MCP server, right? It has the ability to do benchmarking of your DAX. It has the ability to do optimization of your DAX. It has the ability to look at your model for best practices. And so I get what everybody's saying, right? Can I bring something else in to look at my model after it's done this? It has the ability to do that also. So not only can it model and create measures and relationships and analyze your model for things, like it can go and look at review your model for best practices. That's built into the MCP server.
And again, I would say it also goes back to the AI tool that you're using, or how you decide to use that.
Yeah.
So I have seen some very intense demos of Claude code running under a terminal, to where people have multiple agents running at one time. A file changes, it reviews that file, the agents talk to each other. It can, that is a little bit dependent on the tool that you're using. And you knowing how to set that tool up. So it's not a function of the MCP server itself. And you may tell each agent that's going to use its own version or its own instance of the MCP server to connect to the same model. So yeah, those type of things can definitely happen.
So on the Git page, I'm sorry, Kevin, I just want to show this.
No, go ahead.
So you can see all the operations that it can perform, right? DAX query, trace operations, partition operations. Where is it? I know it's in here somewhere. Oh, it's not here. It can do all types of things, right? And I'm not sure why they don't have like the best practices, but I know best practices is part of it. Because one of the first prompts that I did against the model was, hey, can you analyze my model and tell me everything you think is wrong with it? And it spit out, like, I had one DAX statement that I didn't have any variables in, and the recommendations that it made, the DAX query, and this may seem, trivial to you all, but it went from 5 seconds to like 1 second. Because I wrote it and I didn't realize I had added the variables. It went through and it said, hey, you forgot these 3 variables. You should do this. And I literally took it at face value, copied it, pasted it, ran it, validated the results, and it worked perfectly. So I'm not sure why it's not here, but it definitely does those things.
And Patrick, I'm pretty sure that I've seen multiple demos on GitHub Copilot at this point where you can actually add files for context, where you can actually bring in those rules. So all of the roles that are in Tabular Editor for being able to do the validation. So you can add that to your folder structure and then to validate against that.
That's my model instructions, right? So you could just, you create your workspace, your folder, and you add these things to the folder, and then you can reference them in the chat and say, hey, use this, use that, do this, do that. And so you can do almost anything. You can't do everything, but you can do a lot of things.
Yeah. For those of you who have a hard-nosed architect that you can't convince, Kevin, that's a good thing. You can implement that into your source control, and that way it can be like, hey, how do I measure up against my standards, and you deliver a better product that way.
You bet.
Let me see if I broke it.
That's my code review tool. So then I don't give to my developers. They got to pass it without that knowledge. So.
Exactly.
The last time I did this, I broke my project file. So let me see if I broke it again. One of my prompts, I forget which one broke it. Let's see. Let's see.
It looks like it's gonna come up.
All right. So let's refresh. This is my calculation group. Refresh. Come on. It's thinking about it. And some of the tables. Refresh now. I don't want to do that refresh. Hang on. Cancel it.
You gotta get
connected. I don't care about that. What I want to see. Go ahead, Kevin.
I was gonna say, can you bring back up that the GitHub page with the?
I will. It didn't add descriptions. Didn't add my description. Oh yes, it did.
Yeah, it did. There, I see it. Yeah.
Look at all my descriptions. And then if you go over to here and we go to my data dictionary, it created a data dictionary. Like here's the description of the model, here's the table of contents, here's all my facts, here's my row counts. It did all this information for me. Is it perfect? Probably not, right? I need to go and format it and shape it and do some things to it, but at least it's a good starting point. So, all right, Kevin, here the GitHub page. The
GitHub page, because I think this question is going to kind of relate to it.
Okay.
Can you use this MCP server to do some data operations like Power Query does? And I'm going to interpret this question a little bit different, because as you were paging through the commands available, there was things that talked about commands that it looks at the Power Query.
But it can't do a whole bunch. Right, it can like parameterize your connection strings. It could change your connection strings. It could list, what you're connecting to, and update it. But it can't like not like the.
I had it create new tables, new Power Query tables. That was the demo I did at noon today.
It didn't work on mine, so you'll have to show me what it did. Mine errored every time I tried to create a new table.
I'll send you the video once it's out.
Was the connection already there?
Yeah, I did one table first off to like a CSV file.
There you go.
And then told it I had all these other CSV files, and it added. Yes, I gave it a template to work off or something to work off.
Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, I didn't. So I was okay.
But you could use the server to help you modify your Power Query. Yeah. Now, if you're saying like do Power Query out to a source, you could browse that source. No, I don't think that right. This is still going to be in the context of Power BI.
Yep.
But you could have it add a table or give it enough information to help you modify that Power Query in your model to then see if it comes back correctly from that source.
Yep.
So.
Cool.
Isaac, I think you have a question. Is it Isaac still? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So for those using a MacBook, like is there a way to have the same functionality for the MCP server?
So I think you can. VS Code runs on the MacBook, and I I'm guessing you can install the MCP server. The problem you got to run into is Power BI desktop doesn't run on the MacBook.
Yeah.
So if
Like
you have
I
it
knew
connect
that
to
like
the
it's been a
yeah, it
go ahead,
might
go ahead,
work
go
for
ahead.
doing the Tyndall files, like the workspace that you had,
yeah, but you can't
right?
open it and look at it after the fact, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You're still going to
So,
have to kind of commit it and publish it maybe to the
Yeah.
service or something.
So what you could do, that's a good question. I got a MacBook around here. What you could do, like for this one, so once I'm done everything, I can say check it in to GitHub, where I can say, hey, can you commit this to GitHub, right? And so I can get it committed, but I need to have my workspace. If I had my workspace backed by Git, then it would automatically, you would go to that workspace and say, all right, give me all my changes, and then you can see the model, you can see the report, you can see all those things up in the service. So, but you can't look at it. You can't open up Power BI Desktop, and there's no plans, to be honest with you. It's saying Git's not installed. Okay, and so there's no plans to do Power BI Desktop on the MacBook. That's why all the features and capabilities, they're trying to bring parity to the web, so you do everything in the web.
But also, if you can get the connection to the Power BI workspace working, and like I said, there is a bug out there, but then you could do that from the Mac and have it change it. So, and then you're just going to view it up on your server, on the service in your web browser and stuff. So there are ways, it's all getting there. Thank you, Aurora. She did put the link to the session I did with Sue Bays's group earlier today.
Awesome.
So if you wanted to see that, you want to start wrapping up? What do you think, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm all done. I'm out of words. It was fun.
This was excellent. It was a lot of fun. So a lot of good feedback in the chat. KP, you got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'm troubleshooting the QR code for the feedback. Right now, it looks like we got 9 check-ins and 4 feedback submitted, but then it expired randomly. So I'm looking through that right now. Outside of that, I don't know that there's anything that I have to add in. So let me see if I can get that going real quick. If not, sorry, Patrick, we'll just give you limited feedback.
It's okay.
I'm going to turn off the recording.
You got your feedback here, man. Everybody loves it.
And I think I heard you say